There's one more detail that we're going to add, or one more building assembly component we're going to add to this, this detail through the heavy timber structure. It is the connection that permits the beam to rest or to load, to bear on the girder. Now, you may recall when we were looking at heavy timber structures, there's proper ways to form these connections to avoid having cracking. So this shows a correct and incorrect way of creating this bearing condition. And if you'll recall, it has to do with the location of the fastener relative to the bearing point. So that's why this one is considered correct versus the one up here. It's causing some stress in the end of the beam, the way that this is done. So we're going to duplicate something that looks like this. Now we need a region type to indicate steel. I'm going to go to Manage, Additional Settings, and I'm going to look for Fill Patterns. Okay, so when I look here, I see a bunch of options. The one I want to use for this region is called Steel. So I'm not going to make any changes here, but I just wanted to illustrate where you would find some of these various patterns. I'm now going to go back to Annotate, Region, and this is what was set from previously. I'm going to edit the type, and I'm going to duplicate. Actually, you know what? I want to use a different type as my source. Let's start with solid white. And let's edit the type and let's duplicate it. And we're going to call this one Steel. And foreground pattern color, background pattern color, cancel. Solid fill, we're going to change this to Steel. And say OK. I think we may need to change this to black as well. So black foreground and background, maybe. Let's just see how this looks, and we may need to come back and make a change to it. So I'm going to go to Annotate. Well, I'm already in the Annotate tool. Okay, so I have here filled region Steel. Let's make a little rectangle and see how it looks. Check mark. Yeah, the only thing that needs to happen is I need to make sure that I'm not using invisible lines for my region edges. Okay, so going back to the beam here, I'm going to go to region this time, and I'll use the Steel. Instead of visible lines, I'm going to use my medium thin lines, and I'll start here in the upper right hand corner of the glue lamb, and I will come over 6 1/4 inches approximately. There we go. I've zoomed in. And you can always make adjustments to this. Up 0.25 over, let's go over 7 down to the bottom here. We'll go over that same 6 3/4 inches. These are all going to vary depending on the manufacturer. So I just want to get something in here that looks approximately like what it would end up being. 7 inches back. And come around and hit the check mark. So it does have a slight pattern for that. Okay, now the only other thing that I need to do is add the dashed line that represents the plate. And I need to have some kind of fastener at the bottom. And just to refresh your memory on what we were looking at here, I need this dashed line. It's going to go up a couple of inches and then over maybe 3 inches. Okay, so in my detail line, I'm going to go to hidden 1/16. I'm going to draw a line up 3 inches, and I'll bring it back to the top of the bracket, right? And then I will draw a simple circle to represent the fastener, right? So detail line, you could use a circumscribed polygon. That's maybe a better graphic for what we're doing here. 6-sided polygon. And let's see here. It's asking for the starting point of the polygon. And I'll just make something that's maybe 3/4 of an inch. Seems a little big. Let's move that into place though. And roughly center that above 1.5 inches. Not far enough. Let's move it a little bit more. Move it up 1 more inch. So about 2.5 inches. All right. And again, it's just to sort of graphically represent some kind of connector there. All right. Now this same detail it needs to be copied down to the beam below. So I'm going to click on all of these items, copy, and I'll find a snap point right here. And I'll place my copy right there. So I've got 2 of these connectors.